On June 15, 2021, a 5-year-old girl disappeared from inside her home in Hawkins County, Tennessee. 3 years later, there are still no leads that could explain what happened to her. Was she abducted? If so, was it a stranger or someone she knows? And why was she abducted? If she wasn't abducted, then what happened to her? Was there an accident and then a cover-up? The questions just keep piling up, with no answers in sight. The disappearance of Summer Wells has perplexed the authorities for years. It continues to haunt her family as well as the community. Welcome to Bad Things. Today, we'll take an in-depth look at the case to see if we can figure out what most likely happened to this adorable little girl. On that fateful afternoon, Summer Wells was planting flowers with her grandmother and mother just 20 feet from her family's house. Around 6:10 p.m., Summer went inside the house to look for her brothers. Her mother Candace walked her all the way to the porch and watched her walking into the kitchen where her sons were watching TV. Candace then asked her sons to watch their sister and that she would be right back. Within 2 minutes, I came back and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, "She went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom." Candace called out for her daughter several times, but when there was no response, a sense of unease set in. Feeling something was wrong, she headed to the basement to check, but Summer was nowhere to be found. By now it was around 6:30 p.m. and Candace's worry had deepened. After searching everywhere she could think of and finding no sign of her daughter, she quickly called 911. The police arrived at the Wells home around 7 p.m. and not long after, Summer's father, Donald Wells, also returned home. Around 60 to 80 people turned the northeast Tennessee town upside down, trying to find Summer or any clues that could explain her disappearance. The search was conducted by foot and air. Despite the large amount of manpower and technology used, there was no sign of the little girl. An endangered child alert was issued later that night. It was reported that police dogs were able to pick up Summer's scent. It led them into the woods behind her house. However, they eventually lost the trail. By 11 a.m. the following day, the alert was upgraded to a statewide Amber Alert. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation urged residents who lived near Ben Hill Road to check their trail or surveillance cameras to see if they have any footage that showed Summer. They also requested the landowners to check out buildings, sheds, and any other possible space in their properties where Summer could have sought out shelter. Over the next few weeks, the search was conducted involving more than 120 agencies from Tennessee, Ohio, Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, and North Carolina. The teams covered more than 3,000 acres and logged in nearly 14,000 hours in a bid to find Summer Wells. Over 1,000 tips came in during the next 2 months, but nothing seemed to help the authorities in locating the missing girl. The investigators couldn't find any trace of Summer Wells. According to Captain Tim Coop of the Churchill Rescue Squad, who was leading the active search at the time, there were factors that had slowed down their progress. Some of the issues we've encountered with this search is the steep and dangerous terrain, he said. We're also experiencing very dense canopy coverage, including very dense ground cover. And it's not just the terrain that's the problem. The extreme heat also made it hard for the search crews, exhausting them both mentally and physically. Moreover, the reception of radios and cell phones were spotty, making it difficult for the authorities to keep open lines of communication. While different agencies were conducting a large-scale search for Summer, the rest were focusing on investigating the Wells family. Though Summer's parents were never named as suspects, they were under a great deal of scrutiny. The police discovered that there were allegations of domestic violence and substance abuse in their past. Donald Wells did report that his wife Candace was asked to take a lie detector test, which she passed. So far, no evidence has been uncovered that could link them to their daughter's disappearance. It has been 3 years since Summer Wells has disappeared, and there are still no answers. According to Criminal Investigation Division Assistant Director Josh Melton, We don't have the evidence in this case to know for sure whether or not Summer was abducted, or whether or not she walked away from her home and became lost. But that doesn't mean that there aren't any theories. Many people have speculated on what might have happened. Summer's parents, Don and Candace, believe that she had been abducted. The door to their basement is close to the woods. They think that someone may have lured Summer away through that door while no one was paying attention. One neighbor reportedly heard a scream at the time that Summer went missing. In addition, there was a maroon or red 1998 to 2000 Toyota Tacoma with a full bed ladder rack along with white buckets in the truck bed that was seen near the Wells home at the time of Summer's disappearance. It has also been discovered that there are sexual predators living nearby. It is possible that someone had taken a fancy to Summer and abducted her. Summer's father, Donald, even suggested that the abduction may be related to another disappearance, that of Summer's aunt and Candace's sister, Rose Marie Bly, who went missing in 2009. However, according to the investigators, there's no evidence that links the two cases together. Another theory proposed by some is accidental death or drowning. Some speculate that Summers may have wandered away from home and then drowned in a nearby creek. She could also have gotten lost in the woods near her house, where she died shortly after. But how could her body continue to be missing? With the number of people joining in the search, as well as how large the search area was, over 3,000 acres, it's highly unlikely that no trace of her could be found if she had died an accidental death. But what if it was an accidental death that occurred inside the house? Some people believe that the disappearance of Summer had something to do with her parents. The theory is that something happened to Summer that caused her death, and her parents staged her disappearance to cover up their involvement. And based on the evidence, or lack thereof, this is what we believe most likely happened. The Wells family has a tumultuous history. There have been allegations of neglect and domestic assault. Both Don and Candace were previously convicted on domestic violence and battery charges. The police also discovered that Donald once had a protection order taken against him by Candace in October 2020 because she was afraid for my children and myself. He was later arrested on several charges, which included domestic assault, possession of a handgun while under the influence, and unlawful possession of a weapon. He pled guilty to the charge of possession of a handgun while under the influence in April 2021. The other charges were dropped. In October 2022, Don was arrested for DUI. He served an 8-month sentence and was released in early 2023. Both Don and Candace have a history of alcohol and drug abuse. Of course, the latest arrest could also be a result of Summer's disappearance. Moreover, a month after Summer disappeared, Child Protective Services removed her 3 brothers from their parents' home. It is unknown when it happened, but the Wells eventually signed over rights to the 3 boys to the state. While this isn't direct evidence pointing to the parents as guilty for Summer's disappearance, it also raises questions about the family's environment and the couple's parenting practices. That's not all. It was later discovered that there were discrepancies in the testimonies of Don and Candace. First, according to the dispatch call, Candace had gone out for a walk before coming home and realizing that Summer was missing. However, Candace's statement to the media denies this. She told WJHL local news network, "I don't go on walks around here or on runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here." Second, there's a problem between the timelines provided by the Wells family and the one discovered by the official investigation. Don initially claimed that Summer went missing around 5:30 p.m., but Candace stated that she last saw Summer around 6:10 p.m. In addition, Don initially claimed that law enforcement had yet to arrive when he got there. He later retracted that statement and admitted to arriving at the home around 7 p.m. The police were already on site. Why lie about these things unless you were trying to hide something? Another possible evidence that supports this theory is that the family was reported to have conducted a quick search of the property before calling for help, but there were inconsistencies in their statements. For example, Don reportedly searched the shed on their property. He claimed to have headed straight there instead of going directly to the house because he figured they was looking all over the house, so I went to the shed. I don't know if I checked it then or later, but no, I did go in there and look, but not sure when. Why did he head directly to the shed to search? And since he did, why didn't he search it then and there? Why didn't he search the surrounding area as well? Another discrepancy in Don's statement is that he initially claimed to have received Candace's call, which they ended quickly, and that she did not call him back after she called the police. However, he later states in a different interview with the media that he and Candace were on Messenger and that they talked to each other the entire way home. When asked if their phones could provide a more accurate timeline of events, he claimed that magically all our phone records from 3:30 onwards on that day have been deleted. How is this possible? Another important discovery is about the 13 dogs that live on the Wells property. While they are not all owned by the Wells, the dogs do roam in the area. And when Chris McDonough of the Interview Room visited the property to interview Candace, it was reported that dogs appeared from the woods and began barking when he drove up the driveway. According to Don, the dogs weren't around that day, so they couldn't have alerted the family when a stranger came in to abduct Summer. However, according to the police that arrived at the scene, there were dogs there, and these dogs even caused a problem with the search and cadaver dogs that the police had brought in to help in the search for Summer. Don's statement is not the only one that's problematic. Summer was reportedly often left in the care of her brothers. She was used to playing outside alone. Candace claimed to have walked Summer up to the house before she went missing. However, it seems that this is abnormal behavior. Why would Candace claim to have supervised her return to the house when she doesn't usually do this? One last thing that we noted is that according to the official investigation account, there is no evidence of the family conducting a thorough search prior to the police's arrival. While this does not indicate guilt, it also raises more doubt. So what do we think most likely happened? As we mentioned before, Summer was often left unattended. It's quite possible that something happened to her that day due to her parents' neglect. The grandma and Candace might have left her alone that day much longer than what they claimed, and it was during that time that she met with an accident and died. It's even possible that this happened much earlier than when they reported it, which could explain the messed up timelines they provided to the police and the media. As to why they tried to hide what happened to Summer, it was reported that CPS was already looking at the family. If Summer had died due to an accident that was caused by her lack of supervision, they might have lost everything, so they tried to cover it up. But what about Summer's body? Well, the fact that there was a trail for the dogs to follow into the woods suggests the possibility that that's where they buried her. Of course, all of these are just suppositions based on the facts that were revealed to the public. As of today, the investigation still remains open, and the police has refused to release any other information about their discoveries. 3 years after Summer's disappearance, many are still hoping to find Summer. However, her parents have lost hope of ever seeing her alive again. Her father Don stated that he no longer searches for her. They believe that she is dead. The only thing they are holding on to is their faith. This is just temporary. Heaven is forever, said Don Wells. Whether this is an admission that they know that Summer is dead, or simply proof of their moving on, is up to you to decide.